Welcome to Taking Care of Business on Current Radio, News Talk, 1180 for the best in Saturday Talk Radio at 1 o'clock, and again on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and for the best in Wednesday Talk Radio on 1410 KERI on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And now we are in Albuquerque, New Mexico on 1000 KKIM. My name is Marty Pay, and my partner in crime, Clay Kerner, is at a seminar learning more about the Unaffordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. And we all know Clay's going to be talking more about that when he gets back. It is his favorite subject. And, of course, behind the big board, we've got the producer's producer, Greg Held. We had a very heartwarming show last week with Michael Benj talking about National Victims Crime Awareness Week, which is next week. And I really appreciate Michael sharing his tragic story about what happened to his family when they were hit by a teenage drunk driver. This is something we all need to be aware of because it's happening more and more. We also had a great interview with Cindy Pollock from the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. She was a lot of fun. Now, before we introduce our guest for the hour, I want to make a few comments. Last night, Kern County lost a great man, a friend of mine, Billy Atchley. He passed away. He was my mentor and a good friend, and been in the insurance business here in Kern County for over 45 years and really involved in the community, and he's going to be missed. And my condolences go to Ginger, Kyle, Shannon Grove, and the rest of the family, and he will be missed. I also wanted to make a comment about the event that happened at the Boston Marathon on Patriots Day Monday. I was a marathon runner in the late 70s, and at that time, you had to run 3 hours and 30 minutes to qualify for Boston. I was never that fast. But I went a couple times as a pacer for a few friends of mine, where I would just join them in different segments in the race just to help them keep their pace going. And I've got to tell you, I've never forgotten the times we've spent with people from Japan and Africa and Europe and the camaraderie of sports. And I feel that same thing today when I do my bike races. It's that same feeling of competition against yourself and of accomplishing something, and there's just the incredible camaraderie that goes along with that. And unfortunately, all that was it wasn't really shattered, but you could see the athletes and the fans come to the rescue of the people that were injured. There's nothing like that feeling, and I'm extremely angry at what I saw happen. I'm not the vigilante type. Most of you that know me know that. But I'll tell you what, when we do find out who these people are, and we will, I think justice must be fair and swift. We cannot allow this intimidation to happen because it's already incorporated into the fabric of our life, and I don't think it should change what America is. So I think it's important for us to be fair, but definitely justice should be swift when we find out who's responsible for this, because there's no way we're going to let them get away with this. So let me get off my soapbox, and I'll introduce our guest for the hour. An old friend who I first interviewed 20-plus years ago on, Greg, can I mention another station on the air? I guess I can, huh? I interviewed him originally 20-plus years ago when I was guest hosting for Helen Fabian's show on KBRT a long, long time ago. Our guest by phone, the Regional Director for the National Right to Life, Brian Johnston. Brian, welcome back to Taking Care of Business.
Well, it's great to be on with you, Marty.
Brian, can you believe that's been 20-plus years ago?
Everything is going by quickly, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Amazing.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this is your lucky day. You don't have to put up with Clay today.
No, well, Clay's a great guy.
Yes,
and I'm glad he's paying attention to Obamacare. That is worthy of many programs because very few people understand it. In fact, even after it was passed, even though Mrs. Pelosi promised we'd understand it after it was passed, most of those who wrote it don't understand it.
Well, that's right, because we had to pass it so we could we'd read the bill afterwards, which makes a lot of logic. Well, it's a perfect segue there for me, because I was going to start off by asking you what the effects you think Obamacare will have on the abortion issue.
Oh, well, in the simple sense, it's only going to expand it because, contrary to what the president promised at the time, because he hadn't read the book. This was really cobbled together by people who for years, and you and I know this, there are people who have an agenda for what they'd like to see America become, for what they'd like to see the healthcare industry become. And so this wasn't just drawn up overnight, obviously, because there wasn't even time to read it. We know that. So there were other people that put this together. Mr. Obama did not write this.
Mm-hmm.
But he clearly approves of it because he agrees with that worldview that America needs to be fundamentally changed. That was his promise at the time of his election. And one of those changes is the broader acceptance and promotion of abortion as a form of birth control and disregard for any of the moral implications to what abortion has brought to us as a nation, and the financial underwriting of this industry, which is very, very much the case in California. California, we have more abortions in California than any other state. We're the largest in population. But we have doubled the per capita rate of all other states. So California has more abortions, but we have doubled the rate of abortions by population. And the reason is that abortions are essentially free in California. Your tax money is paying for it. The government of California is underwriting the entire industry. So it's important to realize that's what Obama wants to bring across the nation, and Obamacare is a facilitator for that.
We're having a conversation with Regional Director for the National Right to Life, Brian Johnston. Brian, I want to make a comment. We're actually having two shows here. In the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about Life Fest, which is really going to be much more of an upbeat segment.
Yeah.
That's really a neat thing. But in the first half, we're going to talk about the pro-life, about the abortion issue. So when you say abortions are basically free in Sacramento and in California, and they're trying to make it that way for the rest of the country, how do you mean that? How come it's free here and it's not in the rest of the country? What's the difference?
Well, we have the state of California, which now in the state of California, most listeners are probably aware there's a supermajority. So it isn't a mere majority by the Democrats. And again, Democrats not opposed to Democrats per se, but the Democrat Party has become so radically government-centric and has abandoned the foundational principles of how our government was established. And that specifically, in this case, deals with abortion. You cannot be an elected Democrat if you do not support abortion. That is just how it is in that party. They are vicious in primaries. I knew many elected pro-life Democrats from years ago, Marty, from those times when you were in KBRT. There were pro-life Democrats. There are no more in elective office because the party is literally vicious in making sure that the sacred notion of choice when it comes to killing a human baby, that is paramount in their party structure. So the supermajority in Sacramento now means they don't just have a majority of the votes, they have a supermajority. They can override anything. They have a 2/3 majority. They can pass anything they want. They have a governor who is, everyone listening knows that Governor Brown is a diehard left-wing Democrat. His nickname from the olden times was Moonbeam back then.
That's right, yeah.
And he is way out there, and yes, on abortion, he is a political creature of Planned Parenthood. He gives them what they want, and they give him what he wants, which is their support. But all of this, remember, is actually, as it is in the case, I'll touch on the issue here of government employee unions, it's actually your money they're playing with. And that's what people don't understand. This isn't just an ideology about privacy, a woman's privacy, which is supposedly the heart of Roe v. Wade. This is incredibly public. This is a public-funded institution, so that it isn't just the abortionist that has bloody gloves as he's walking away from that woman. He's paid with a government check. But the entire industry, the advertising, the brick and mortars. Yeah, go ahead, Marty.
I was just going to say something that you mentioned there. It reminds me of Judge Borick. In his book, he made the great comment I thought was a classic. He said, it ceases to be a private issue when the woman brings in a doctor. It's no longer private. Now you're dealing with two people. It's not an individual issue anymore.
That's right, and that's right. But now we're doing more than that because now she's not paying that doc.
Right.
Now you're paying that doc. And this is what's most insidious. For all intents and purposes, you paid for her to get the idea, for the advertising, for her to know about that clinic, for her to think, oh, gosh, here I'm in a difficult situation. Maybe I could just end this life, and then I'll have a happier life. If I don't have this baby to think about, then I'll go on and I'll have a personal peace and happiness because this baby's life has ended. Well, that's been marketed to her. That's been marketed. And I'm not just talking about the Yellow Page ads. That's part of it. But particularly the rate of abortion is highest amongst younger women. The abortion industry advertises on college campuses. They advertise at high school. In the town of Merced, Planned Parenthood's property line is shared with Merced High School.
Oh, jeez.
These people are intentionally taking that, and you're paying for this. Obviously, you're paying for the high school, but you're paying for the abortion industry to reach out to these kids, to go around their parents. This is one of the few, very few. It's the only one I can think of right off that, to get any other medical procedure, a parent must authorize it. Mm-hmm. But abortion, because it's private, because privacy is what's invoked here, is the incantation.
Right.
No, they go right to this girl.
Yep.
And the parents don't even know about it, and yet the parent actually contributed to pay for this. So it's an incredibly insidious industry. And again, at the bottom line is we're talking about human lives. We're throwing out human lives, and the implications of that have incredible reverberations.
Exactly. Brian, let's pick up there. We get back from the break, okay?
Ready.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Current Radio News Talk 1180.